Hi Bessie, let's talk about living and working in China, or just living in China and being a student, whatever reason you're here for. It might not be for you. Living here is not for everyone. Hear me out. I'm going to talk about the good things about living here and the challenges of living here, and then you will figure it out yourself if it's for you. And mind you, I'm talking from my perspective. I'm also talking from just my general observation. This is not the Bible truth, but it's just how I see things. Okay, so the good things, if you want to save a lot of money and you don't want to work too much while doing that, what I mean by that is that sometimes people work 3 or 4 jobs in countries like the US. If you don't want to do that, China is perfect for you because the living expenses are so cheap. Life is cheap here compared to just a lot of countries. So that way you'll be able to save and live a very good life at the same time. So if your goal is to save money and that's just your main focus, great. This is a country for you. And another good thing is that you get to learn about different cultures. And for me, you get to learn about yourself as a person more, away from your comfort zone. So there's just something about being away from what you used to and being in an environment that is not familiar to you, not familiar to. It just forces you to learn not only about yourself, but about other people as well. I think I wouldn't trade that for anything because it's been so good for me to just learn about other people, how other people live, how other people think, just the interesting ways of how people think, especially just like, how come you think like that? Just different cultures and unlearning certain things as well, and how I think as well. You can challenge as a person. So if you're looking for a change that is going to be good for you and have a very, very great impact on you and your life forever, this is a very great opportunity to come and live here. And then just overall great life in terms of materials. So you are able to save, like I've said in the beginning, but also you're able to live a very, very comfortable life, and beyond comfortable sometimes, depending on your job and your salary. So I've seen people take very, very luxurious trips and still be able to save money, I hope. So you're not forced to choose one thing at a time, right? Unless it's just you who's forcing yourself to do it because you want to achieve your financial goals sooner. But you can pretty much live really, really good life and then save. So that is awesome. It's not everywhere that you get to do that, because in South Africa, for example, getting paid a lot of money doesn't necessarily guarantee that you'll be able to save and live a good life. You might have to choose just one thing. Are you going to live a good life and be broke, or are you going to save and not live a good life? So there's that aspect. And just I want to touch on the misconception that there might be some sort of oppression over here. Not at all. You get to live a free life, but you have to know your place in a sense. So I'm not sure if that would fall under the good things or the bad things, but nothing really happens to you if you abide by the law, if you familiarize yourself with how the system works here and not challenge things that have nothing to do with you. So overall, there is quite a lot of freedom. It just has a lot of boundaries. You figure out if you put that in goods or if you put that in the challenges part. But I see it as I chose to come live here. When in Rome, you do like they do over there. All right, so the main purpose of this video really is to relay this information. So with the first part of everything, the good things, yeah, of course, it's not everything that is going to be challenging, but then definitely there's challenges. For example, there's barely any logic here in general. So if you are the type of person who likes to ask why are we doing that? What is that for? What's the point? Well, why can't we do it this way? Why can't we? There's no room for that. If it's just black and white, and it can be really, really frustrating, especially at work and just in society as well. There's no room for discussion, for things and for ideas to add on things that already exist. It's just, we do things this way, you like it or not, we're just gonna do it this way. For me, that was the most challenging part at first, which was why I was so unhappy at first here, because I'm a logical person, so I was always trying to make sense of stuff I should not have tried to make sense of. It's just like, are you able to take things, suppress your emotions, suppress your ideas, suppress who you are in order to survive? Or are you the type of person who's like, I would never sacrifice my thoughts, my beliefs, who I am, just to survive? So you definitely get to pick, you choose your battles very wisely here, or else you'll be very, very frustrated. So if you're logical, be careful, think thoroughly about coming here, because there's definitely not so much room for logic. It's just is what it is, black, white, no room for gray areas, no room for thoughts and ideas. That is going to trickle over to the work life as well. So the work life is, I'm in South Africa, we are very liberal in places of work. Here it's not that type of leadership. In most establishments and businesses, it's autocratic. So while in most places of work that I've worked at, there was freedom in terms of just getting to do what I want to do and not too much micromanagement, there's still just authority, and you know it. You don't want to cross it. There's no challenging systems. It's still in society and in places of work, just there's no room for ideas and adding on to stuff. So if you are the type of person who's like, I don't want to be stifled, I want to fly and be free and add on to stuff, and I don't really care about money, I just want to grow in my profession, there might not be room for that, especially in the education system over here. And let me explain. So schools here are pretty much like corporate. So it's literally businesses, the schools that we mostly work for. They're not necessarily public schools, so they are businesses. It's a business, the customer is always right, so you're dealing with that as well. Who's the customer? The customer is the student and the parent. Whatever happens, they look out for the students and the parents first. You come third or just last, really. It doesn't matter what happened. They will always try and find a way to protect a parent or the student. So if a parent is complaining about you for whatever reason, they're challenging you because you've been disciplining their child and making sure that they don't treat other kids the wrong way, the parent might come for you and you might lose your job because of that. So you tread very likely when it comes to the students and when it comes to their parents. You don't want to, even if you're right, it doesn't matter. The parent is right and the students are right. It's very rare that schools protect you as a teacher here, very, very rare. So if you are very passionate about teaching and you want to have an impact and you want to grow in the field, I'm not sure it would be a very great environment. If your goal is to teach, of course, love on the kids, but you don't really care about a lot of things, sure, you'll thrive. But if you care about a lot of things and you want career development and you want to learn and thrive and all those things, probably not the best place for you. It would be best for you to just stay where you're at and teach where you're at and have more growth, career growth, wherever you are, because here is not necessarily the place for that, unfortunately. It's just teaching, loving on the kids, being very careful, and then getting your money. I would also say that just the social life here is not ideal. It's people leave, number one. So you make friends and then they go back to their countries. you're probably gonna go back to your country. And it's cliques as well, just what I've been observing. More cliques, more touch-based type of relationships. It's very, very difficult to have a community of sorts here. You know people, but you don't really, it's very difficult to find a community. It's been very difficult for me, unless you go to church or you a groove person. So like if you groove and whatnot, I feel it's very easy, because I've seen there's groups of people like that, which I have nothing against. I just am not that type of person. So if you live a certain type of lifestyle, it can be very tricky making just friends and close, neat friendships, not just people you know, because there's a difference. So the social life and just your neighbors as well, it's just so cold, especially the locals here. I think I've said this quite a lot, it's just not a very warm environment. Your neighbor might not even greet you. I bumped into one of my neighbors, the neighbor that's very close to my door. We greet each other and we're cool. But then the other neighbor, I saw her for the first time and I greeted, she just looked at me. So you deal with stuff like that. If it'd been the first time I came here, I would have been very, very disturbed. But I wasn't, because I know what to expect now. They just might not greet you. It's just not their thing. I've been telling my students every day in the mornings, hey, don't you guys greet? Because sometimes they'll just walk into the classroom and not say, morning teacher or morning everybody, just walking through. I'm like, is it a culture thing? I asked them, don't you guys greet your parents when you wake up? It's just like, no, we really don't. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we just forget. We just late or whatever. But it's not that important for people to acknowledge each other here and actually be kind and nice in explicit ways. The kindness is shown in different ways than what we are used to, and that is sometimes very, very difficult. And lastly, this is the most important thing. I don't know why I put it at last, but the anxiety that comes with working and sometimes living here is inexplicable. I feel like working here, there's no firm foundation. You're just floating and you can lose your job at any point. And I think that is anxiety inducing. Literally 2 people lost their jobs at work the past 2 weeks because of some reasons. I don't know if it's good reasons or whatnot. I'm not going to be the judge of that, but literally it can just happen like that. There's no, like in SA for example, you're gonna have a union and then they're gonna fight for you. There's none of that here. You can get a lawyer, but they're just gonna pay you, give you some money. I don't think you'd be able to go back to that employer or place of work. It's just is what it is. So sometimes it's easy to lose jobs, which is very, very scary for the most part. It's just anxious. I don't know how to put it. It's not always active anxiety. It's just anxiety that lives with you. If something happens, say for example, you're a PE teacher and then one kid breaks their leg and you were supposed to be looking after them, that might come and bite you here, instead of just saying, oh, these things happen, but the parent might pursue that and make it a big deal and whatnot. So such things, it's just life, right? Kids get hurt, they do things to each other, they do things to you, sometimes you do things to them, just life, right? But here, a parent might come after you for that. And I don't mean teachers being malicious or cases where a teacher is basically very wrong. I just mean in cases where just something simple that is normal in other spaces where just a kid is tripping and falling or kids fighting for whatever reason. But if you in their midst and you are supposed to be working, but say you just were on your phone for whatever reason and they check the cameras. Where I work right now, there's cameras everywhere, and then they can just pull out the camera and you can get fired. So you have to be very, very careful how you move. Sometimes no matter how careful you are, you can still lose your job because it's just how things are. And just the anxiety of just living here, I don't know, I've never felt at home for me. I know why I'm here, I know why I'm still here, but I just have never felt at home here. It's just sometimes anxiety inducing in ways that I can never explain. So yeah, it's not really a very ideal place for a person who's looking to settle in, I think, with kids and make life here. It can be very difficult. I know people who've done it. Some people have been living here for 10 years. I've been living here for 5 years myself, but I still need to be here and I love it here. So most of the time, 80% of the time I love it here, but it's definitely not for everyone. It can be challenging. So when you're applying for jobs and you're coming this side, please just always keep it in your mind that be cognizant of the fact that things can be very difficult here. It's not always easy. It can be a very difficult environment to live in. And it's not necessarily the politics of everything. It's just a different cultural environment, and it can make it difficult for you to acclimate as a person who's trying to make a life for themselves and trying to adjust. It definitely can be very difficult. Right, hope this was helpful, bestie. Bye.